Hello and welcome to Access Asia here on France 24. I'm Haxi Myers-Belkin. Coming up on the show. Plastic straws are used for just minutes but can take hundreds of years to decompose. One factory in China is producing an environmentally friendly alternative. Also in China, faced with state censorship and ambiguous laws, sexual assault survivors are determined to have their Me Too moment. And Japan becomes the latest country to confront the unwanted side effects of the Airbnb revolution as it shuts down tens of thousands of listings. As we get a clearer idea about just how dangerous plastic pollution is for the environment, the race is on to find ecological replacements for everyday plastic objects, especially those intended to be used only once. China, the world's largest polluter, is the latest country to get in on the act.
Change begins with small steps, and in one Beijing restaurant, a small change could have huge ramifications for the environment, especially if others follow suit in ditching plastic straws.
We've replaced them with wheat straws. We get them from places in the deep countryside in central China, and they cost the same as the plastic ones.
Wheat stalks are just as effective as plastic straws and completely biodegradable. Customers are behind the move.
I think it's good for the environment.
It's an original way to change our habits.
I know I'm not harming the nature, you know.
With environmental movements demonizing plastic in the West, it's now China's turn to deal with a notorious pollution problem.
Let's see how things stand with our campaign.
That campaign launched on social networks. It's the brainchild of an NGO that wants to raise awareness over the problems rising from the use of plastic straws.
We asked people born after the year 2000 to film themselves and send us clips where they were saying that they were against using plastic straws.
Over just a few days, hundreds of videos poured in.
These young people are China's future middle class. They're the ones who'll allow us to improve the environment and move forwards.
Some are making a start on that already. At a factory in eastern China, Zhou Xiaoling's idea is to move from the detrimental to the ecological. Just 6 months ago, workshops were tooled up to make fidget spinners. Now, it's paper straws.
We need 3 layers of paper for each straw. We roll them in this machine and then cut them. See how good the quality is?
The machines can crank out 2 million straws a day. As the world looks to move on from plastic variants, demand's exploded.
We're going to have to change factories and set up somewhere 10 times bigger.
These straws will be headed for Europe, the United States and Japan. China, for its part, only accounts for 1% of Zhou's turnover, for now at least.
The Me Too movement is gaining momentum in China, following the resignation of a high-ranking Buddhist monk after multiple nuns accused him of sexual misconduct. Other women are taking to social media to recount alleged abuse by TV personalities and academics. Ambiguous laws concerning sexual misconduct and a lack of transparency mean few complaints lead to convictions. But activists and assault survivors are determined to change things. Katrina Yu and Antoine Vede report.
Xiao Liang was in her last year of university in 2016 when she says her professor attempted to rape her.
I was shocked because this man is known as a very respectable professor. All that time, I thought he was a nice person. I did not realize he was manipulating me.
While collecting evidence, another student approached her, saying she had been assaulted by the same professor in his office. Xiao Liang reported it to university authorities, but they ignored her.
As far as I know, this man is still working at the same university as an associate professor. And I'm very worried about his female students. I'm afraid they might be in danger.
The 25-year-old isn't backing down. Supported by her boyfriend and inspired by the Me Too movement, she's continuing to push for a response from the university. China's Me Too campaign has been gathering pace in recent weeks, with viral social media posts accusing public figures such as television host Zhu Jun and Buddhist monk Shi Shuocheng of sexual assault. The head of China's government-run Buddhist Association stepped down in early August after a 95-page document accusing the monk of trying to coerce nuns into sex was leaked online. China's top religious authority is investigating the matter, but observers aren't holding their breath.
Investigations are slow, and secondly, results are often hushed and not transparent.
Journalist Feng Yuan says the Me Too movement faces another hurdle in China: government censorship. Articles and petitions calling for action are often taken offline.
At the beginning, China's Me Too campaign was well received and inspired more people to speak out. But compared to other countries, we have many disadvantages, including the lack of openness on the internet.
Lack of openness is a problem faced by anti-sexual assault campaigners both on and offline. Activist Zheng Xi says China lacks a legal definition of sexual harassment, and regulations on how to handle sexual assault in schools, workplaces, and other institutions are practically non-existent. She's working to change this by applying to place anti-sexual harassment stickers throughout the public transport system in Hangzhou City, where she lives. According to a recent survey, more than 50% of female commuters have been assaulted while riding China's subways.
We want to help create an environment that will deter sexual criminals and make the authorities acknowledge their duties and responsibilities.
Public acknowledgement of sexual misconduct is rare in China. At the beginning of this year, Beijing's Beihang University became the first to dismiss a professor accused of sexually harassing students. His removal marked the beginning of the country's Me Too campaign.
Flat rental service Airbnb promotes itself as a facilitator of cultural exchanges and surprising encounters. But as landlords increasingly let their properties to tourists instead of residents, house prices and rents are rising rapidly. In a bid to regain control, New York, Barcelona and Amsterdam, among others, have already introduced strict regulations. And now it's Japan's turn, with tourist-saturated Kyoto a main priority.
A former Japanese imperial capital, Kyoto's temples and tradition are a major draw for tourists. Until recently, those visitors had the option of hotels or renting private homes online. For the latter, no more. Japan's now cracked down hard on short-term private rentals.
When I got to Japan, the first Airbnb I had cancelled since they didn't have a license, so I had to look for something else.
It was a little chaos for us because it happened just 2 weeks before our trip, but it's okay.
For hotels, it was a matter of regulating unfair competition, and the results are plain to see. 60,000 rentals before the summer are down to just 12,000 today, a reduction of 80%. These visitors from Hong Kong have booked a place in Kyoto's suburbs for €137 a night. The owner shows them around.
There are 2 double beds over here.
Shinpei Yamamoto's had to jump through more than a few hoops to keep on renting the apartment out. He had to buy a license from the town hall and can't rent out for more than 180 days a year, not to mention the changes that he's had to make to the flat itself.
The license cost me €200, but I actually paid a lot more because I had to re-equip the entire flat. You need to conform with fire and hygiene regulations. I had to put up emergency exit signs like a hotel. It all cost me about €4,000.
Back in the city centre, authorities have gone even further, to the glee of local residents. Visitors can still rent private homes, but only off-season, from January to March. Anyone breaking the rules risks a €7,000 fine and even jail time. Jun Goto went as far as launching a petition to get out the tourists he says were a plague in the area.
This is a quiet district, but because of short-term rentals, tourists are killing off the atmosphere and tradition. They speak loudly, make noise, keep the lights on all night. It spoils the mystic idyll of the area.
However, the number of visitors is still going up, and Kyoto's hotels have a shortfall of around 10,000 beds. What's more, Japan is just 2 years out from the 2020 Olympic Games and an expected 40 million visitors, meaning hotels and private renters may just have to find some sort of middle ground.
It may now be harder to find a room on Airbnb for your trip to Japan, but for those who enjoy a more unusual reception, at one hotel you can be greeted by a 4-foot-tall velociraptor. Complete with bellboy hat, the dinosaur receptionists are the star attraction at the Hen-Na Hotel east of Tokyo. And the robot theme doesn't end there. Rooms are equipped with mini-bots that control TV and music, the fish in the tank run on batteries, and the cleaning staff are also automated. It's a hit with guests, but in a country with a shrinking labour market, dinosaurs also seem to be a pragmatic staffing solution. And finally, posting photos of your food on social media is a specifically modern pastime. But if you're into that sort of thing, how to make your flat white stand out from the crowd? One Brisbane cafe has the answer: printing customers' faces on their drinks. The so-called selfie chino works by uploading a photo to an app synced with a special food printer and takes just a couple of minutes. Being able to drink your own face may not be everyone's cup of coffee, but with businesses increasingly keen to make their products attractive on social media, the selfie chino may soon be coming to a cafe near you. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's show. Thank you very much for watching. Till next time.
Join us on Down to Earth as we plunge into the world of cargo shipping. Now, it drives global trade, but at an environmental cost. That's because much of the world's ships run on cheap, dirty fuel. But new regulations aim to clean up maritime pollution. Gas, filters, renewable energy. Join us as we look at how the industry is setting sail for a cleaner future.
Down to Earth, presented by Molly Hall on France 24 and France24.com.